now for another edition of Boast About It. I'm really looking forward to this one because I just went on some serious hiking with him. His name's Raghu Reddy and he's our club champion. Raghu, boom!
James, a pleasure and honor to be sharing the stage with you. Really excited to talk about squash life and whatever else we can sprinkle in.
So, Raghu, I want to start when you were little. Maybe not this big, maybe that tall. At what age did you start playing squash?
So I was always very athletic, had a lot of energy, and I started off playing cricket and soccer.
Because you were in India.
Because I was in India.
And what's India's number one sport?
It's cricket.
It is cricket.
For now, yeah.
Squash, we're working on it, but it's not close to cricket.
No, it's not. And I used to be part of a few clubs in Mumbai, where I was born. And one of them was Khana. And we had like these old school, wooden panels, no glass backed, 2 squash courts kind of in the basement. And my first squash experience was with my father actually. And he was like a very recreational, casual player. And he didn't have a backhand. So every time we play on the backhand, he would switch and hit it forehand. So that was my first squash memory. And I picked up squash when I was 12, and I thought the sport was so incredibly difficult, and I had really low motivation to actually pursue squash, and I was thinking maybe play soccer, but the community that I had and the friends I developed playing squash and hanging out afterwards really made me like stick with the sport and get through that initial phase where you're like really breaking your back, you're like bending down to pick up the ball, like.
That's interesting. So it was the community that brought you into squash, not the intrinsic parts of the game. It was like other people who were playing it and you wanted to be with them.
Exactly, because it's such a tough sport to like pick up, and it's such a steep learning curve that the initial like learnings of how to hit the ball, how to swing correctly, it's so difficult to like learn, especially as like a hyper 12-year-old who's like super distracted. So I had friends along with me who were equally bad. So that shared bond helped me grow and hang in there with squash, and I'm so happy I did.
I've struggled to imagine you not being able to hit the ball, having been on court with you and had been run around ragged.
Too kind.
So, and did you get better kind of quickly, or was it
I think my progress was, I was doing okay, and then I think I really picked up when I was like 15, 16. I feel like I had more understanding of the game, the technique, and more motivation to play. I was able to like really hang in there and compete and really like push to make the Indian team, and I think my highest ranking was like 5 in the under-19s, and that was
pretty good.
That was like 1 year before I actually turned 19, so I had like a whole second year, but I had to forego that to come to college in the US. So you never know what could have happened, But obviously I have no regrets.
Wow.
It was, the experiences I had playing in India are just wonderful. Like the friends
do you
I
have
made.
any stories from your time playing squash there before we switch over to the US?
So I have obviously so many glory stories, but I'm not gonna share those ones.
So many victories.
Many victories.
Too many to talk about.
But also many like life lessons, I would say. And one like particularly funny story was I was traveling with my friend Johan Pandol, who's also very, very good squash player. We were in Delhi for a tournament, and we were playing the quarterfinals of this tournament. It was like an evening start, and we were staying in this really nice hotel actually, and they had like a huge spread for buffet, and I think I had like the most amount of sushi I've ever had in my life. Some fried calamari.
Right before you get on court?
So right before I got on court. So I was very eager to eat I think, or I was really hungry, I think, and I didn't really think about like pre-match preparation or, but you just go hop on court.
I'm not feeling good about where this is going to your squash.
So I go for my squash match like maybe an hour later, and my match actually gets preponed because Johan, he was supposed to play before me, but he was like, I have a stomachache, I can't play, and he was with me at lunch. So now they put my game before his game, so I had to play even quicker than I had to. I could not move. I could not move on court, and I think that was one of the worst experiences of my life. And to make it even worse, Jahangir Khan had to watch that.
The
Jahangir Khan was sitting courtside watching me play the worst squash I have ever played in my life. So
This is a lesson to you. If you have a squash match, warm up, be careful about what you eat. Jahangir Khan might be watching.
So I think those kind of life lessons really stuck around with me, and now I really think about like pre-match preparation, being organized, and that also
I
translates
know
to
you are pretty serious about it because, when we went hiking and stuff, you talked to me about you have this electrolytes that you like to have just before you play. You have a whole. You want to tell us about that?
Sure. So I'm a huge propagator or consumer of electrolytes from this brand called Element. This is totally not sponsored, but if you're seeing this Element, please sponsor me. I love you guys.
And Element is LMNT.
LMNT. Not sponsored. I take that every morning, and also 1 hour before my match. And I also really focus on having good warm up, doing a dynamic stretches, and really like thinking about that aspect of my pre-match routine. So it really makes a big difference to, when you learn lessons on court, you can kind of take them off court as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like the game of squash has so much to teach you, and I'm a eager student in that regard.
So you're in India. You born and bred in Mumbai. You've done the squash thing. You're up to number 5 in the country, and you're trying to decide where to go to college, and you choose Seattle.
When I look back at other people my age or other players, their parents were like, play squash, go to college, win. My parents were like, go have fun, enjoy the game, make friends. And I didn't really think about like college squash. It wasn't really like something I was like knowledgeable about. Like I was just morely playing the game.
Yeah.
Actually, before I came to college, I did a few camps in Yale at UVA, and they were like, you kind of came at the last moment, and we already have our recruitment spots, but you should try next year because the spots for next year are open. So there was a big call for me to take a gap year and like pursue squash more, or go to university and like have a normal education and play my squash.
And you just decided, I'm going to take the normal university life and have a,
I think there were also opportunities while I was in university to play like college squash at like a top 5 team.
Yeah.
And I actually visited that college campus, and I like stayed with the team for a few days.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to go there, like this is not for me. Like I was so happy with my life in Seattle and the friends I made, and also the squash scene was so vibrant and so welcoming there. Like I feel like I had my fair share of good matches. We had a club team, and we would play, NCAA teams. So I would usually get like a very good game at the number 1 spot, and had like wonderful experiences, like being part of that team, help them organize practices, schedule, our trips together. So it was a very good learning experience for me to be part of that club team, help it flourish, and we actually made it to the highest ranking that we ever made it to. So we were like one of the top club teams in the country, and it was all just like people like pulling up. It was labor of love. So it was really special for me to be part of that team and have that college experience in Seattle. So I have like no regrets.
No regrets. What made you choose that university?
They have a great engineering and data science program, and I've always had an interest in understanding how things work, building things, and really understanding how we can use data in our day-to-day lives to improve the quality of life for everyone. So they have a really good program for data science and engineering. So that was what drove me to choose Seattle, and super happy that I did that.
And I happen to know, you are currently a data scientist.
That is true.
So you got any suggestions for how we could use data better in squash?
Oh, I am so excited about the application of data science and AI in squash.
What can we do?
I would love to democratize squash data, and that means scraping all sorts of squash data points from all possible sources, which includes maybe club locker, PSA, squash levels, and then create experiments on top of them. So just some context. So in my job as a data scientist, what we do is we use data to provide value to an end user. And I believe that in squash, there is so much opportunity to kind of leverage the power of data to improve performance, improve participation, and also grow the game with more advanced analytics and make it more interesting for a viewer who's watching squash to help them understand the intricate strategies and nuances that happen within each rally. So as a data scientist, one of my jobs professionally is to do hypothesis testing, which is where you have a notion of something and you create an experiment to test out if it is statistically significant. So if the observed results of the experiment are valid or not. One could be, does a player who volleys more win more rallies? That could be one hypothesis which you can collect data for and actually prove or disprove. Right now, intuition says that people who volley more win rallies and win matches, and most coaches say, volley more, you're going to win matches. But why do they say that? I think quantifying that has some value. So the beauty of the technology we have today, we have tools which are able to analyze and really understand video footage. There's something called computer vision, where an algorithm will analyze a match and a rally and be able to decipher different shots, movement of the players, how they control the tee. And using those data points and labels, we can really answer a lot of different questions for a squash game, for a rally, for a player.
I wonder if you would get a result like asking for lots of lets and strokes results in a win.
We could test that hypothesis.
How far are we from being able to do that? I know we do a lot of that in other sports.
I think at this moment there are like open source tools where we can process videos and images very effectively. I think I would like to research and innovate on this and kind of be my way of giving back to the squash community.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
We can definitely provide you with squash footage.
I would love some, especially of you, James.
Not of me, definitely not of me. Would learn all the wrong things, but we can get some of you and your friends. Without creating new data points, do you think you could get anything out of data that exists today?
I don't think there's enough data that I know of which is out there. I think we have like a good head-to-head and maybe some biographical information about players, maybe their height, their
not
age,
enough,
their ranking.
Yeah, because I think about, for example, soccer. Every time anyone touches a ball, it affects their XG, right? And so if you could get an XS for squash, that'd be super interesting.
I think what would be interesting is to really analyze your match history itself and see how many maybe 5 gamers you won or 5 gamers you lost, and try to create some sort of metric that analyzes how you win the manner of your victories.
Yeah. That information is available.
That information is available.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really interesting to compare head to head. So you create your own KPI metric that just uses or understands your match performance history, and then also analyzes someone else's. And then when you play each other, it gives you maybe like a more accurate way of how you're going to win, like apart from just using US squash rankings.
So going back to your time in school, so you graduated from school with an engineering degree and focused on data science, right?
So I graduated in 2019, and I actually had like a major knee surgery in 2019. So I was not playing squash for like 3 years. So from 2019 all the way to maybe 2022, there was no squash happening for me, and it was really hard to get on court.
What happened to your knee?
So I tore my ACL and my meniscus.
Was it a squash injury?
It was actually not a squash injury. It was like a random injury.
What did you do?
I jumped off a fence.
You jumped off a fence?
I jumped off a fence and I landed on my knee, and I heard something snap. And I was on the floor for about 3 minutes, and my friend walked by and he carried me inside. And funny enough, there was a party happening. So they put me on someone's back, and then we were just drinking beers. And then I took an Uber home, and I was actually fine. I was like, okay, I'm okay now. Maybe it's like not too bad.
Yeah.
And the physios told me that just to keep doing rehab like this, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. I was not fine. I went back home, and I was trying to kick a football, like a soccer ball.
Back home, as in back into India?
In India, for my December break. And I could not kick a soccer ball without my knee actually killing me. And I hadn't done that movement in my rehab or in my day-to-day life. So when that happened, I went to the doctors in India and we did an MRI, and they were like, you have to do surgery now. I actually went to the doctor
wow.
on a Friday. I had my knee surgery on that Monday. So it was like,
Wow.
yeah, it was a chaotic time, to be honest, and that put me out of the squash courts for about 2 years. And right now, I think, looking back, that was a really important phase of my life, which really made me appreciate movement, being on court, competing, because I didn't have that for 2 years, and it really impacted me and my mindset on my life and how much I love the game.
I know that we share something else in common. We both like to do yoga.
Uh-huh.
I think one of the reasons you like to do that is to sort of help rehabilitate your knee. Is that true?
That is true. So actually, after this beautiful podcast, I'll be going to my yoga lesson in the East Village. I just think that the wellness factor in squash. I mean, squash is an individual sport, but it takes a team, to really help you succeed on court. And I think of my yoga instructor Brian as my coach. Like he's part of my team. And when you incorporate like these kind of team members in your team, you only gonna get better and like progress and grow. So I think yoga and mobility has had like a huge impact, and I think I would love to do a hypothesis test on this to see does yoga actually make you improve your squash rating and win more matches.
I'm certain you'd get a good outcome.
I mean, it's always difficult to create experiments like these because of so many different variables and confounding factors. But in an idealistic world, we can test for everything.
There we go. There we go. After college, you went back to India, then you've come back and you're working here in the United States. Tell us, what do you do?
I'm a data scientist, and I focus on hardware quality.
Who do you work for?
I work for this company, CISCO, which produces networking devices, and I'm part of the hardware manufacturing team. So my job is to optimize hardware manufacturing processes in the factories in Taiwan, and also identify issues or places of concern in terms of the field quality. So devices which are currently living at the customer, I analyze them and try to predict if anything is going to go wrong, and if something goes wrong, try to understand why it's gone wrong. So it's been a really interesting application of data science and using data to find some value and really expand your perspective on how crucial data is to running business operations. And that's why I'm so excited to think about and create and find new ideas on how we can bring this kind of analytical thinking to squash. So something really interesting I work on is something called like survival analysis, where we predict the instantaneous failure rate for each device, and then we aggregate that to predict in how many years is a device going to fail. And I really think that this application can be brought down to squash players in terms of injury and fatigue. How long does it take for a squash player to get injured? Like, you don't want to think about it, but it's something you have to think about.
And what maintenance can you do to stop it from happening?
Exactly. So if you can actually use data, it's really interesting. It gives you a very holistic understanding of how the sport is in your life and how you can use data to improve your life and not get injured. So I think there's so many connections between data and squash, and I'm so excited to research and innovate on this. Obviously, it'll be a labor of love, and hopefully in the next podcast I do with you, James, I'll be able to show a demo.
Oh, wow. Before we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about?
I would love to talk about the connection between squash and art.
That is not something that would have intrinsically come to my mind.
This actually goes way back to a squash professional in the Seattle Athletic Club called Tatu. He was an amazing squash coach and professional, but he was also very creative and used to produce beautiful works of art and showcase them in galleries. That was his creative outlet. And then 2 weeks ago, I was able to go and play at Massbet Squash, and we did a whole experiment where we had drones and meta glasses and a court camera to see how we can improve the user experience for viewers in squash. I don't think I'm personally too excited about how things are currently with the different angles and cameras. I don't think it really captures the essence of squash per se. So on that Saturday, it was a beautiful Saturday, we had a drone, we had meta glasses, and we just filmed different rallies and just try to see what we can do with it and have a good time. And I got the chance to talk with Rob as well, and I was really impressed by his vision and his charisma for calling squash players artists.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really beautiful, and I never thought about it that way. And yesterday was actually World Squash Day, and I was back at Masbeth Squash, but this time I was not just on court, I was also behind the decks doing DJ.
Oh, that's right. You DJ for a hobby. I remember.
I was DJing the World Squash Day, and I just felt like incorporating more elements of art really brings the overall experience of squash for the viewers and the players to a different level.
Yeah.
And I really think there's scope for incorporating more communities and more perspectives in terms of artists, DJs, musicians, to be involved in our squash community and really help portray squash through a different lens that is able to connect the wider audience to our beautiful game.
That's beautiful. There are several art people who play here at Open Squash. Anders Wallstedt is the one that comes to mind. He has an art gallery. He was the Swedish #1.
Wow.
But there are some others. So one of America's finest artists, Frank Stella, huge squash player. He's passed away now, unfortunately, but he designed the trophy for the Tournament of Champions as well. So there's definitely been a connection in squash with art.
What I love about squash the most is just the friends you make along the way, and how squash as a sport has so much to give you, and it teaches you these really important life lessons. So I'm just really happy to be able to compete and play squash. So happy to be part of Open Squash. It's actually my second home. It's my home away from home. And it's a pleasure to be friends and hang out with you, James, at all times.
Oh, you are too kind.
Yeah.
You are too kind. Thank you. And thank you for being our club champion. Just so you know, that means that Raghu Reddy is the best player in our FiDi location. And what we need to do is see if you could beat the #1 from Bryant Park.
I'm ready.
So, Chris Hart, Raghu's ready for you.
He's a great player. I'm excited.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, James.
Awesome.
That was fun.
Yeah,
That was fun.
So good. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I think you should talk about failure rate and James Green in squash. I think that's a great data point to start with. I think you can really dive into that one.
These are my friends. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.